Thank you for tuning in to Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy podcast, where we delve into crazy creatures, evading extraterrestrials, horrifying haunted places, the unexplained, and the conspiracies that surround them. The following content will more than likely involve explicit language and materials, so listener discretion is advised. For bonus materials, uncut video versions of the episodes, and other great perks, go on over to patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy. Dollars for disclosure, half Sawbuck Snally, and Paranormal Posse members will get a shout on the pod, access to the private Discord server, as well as more perks that you can find in each tier. However, if you are using an iOS application, I suggest that you sign up through a web browser to avoid the 30% fee that is charged through the app that is not at all related to the podcast. You will still be able to listen on the app, even though you sign up through the browser. So grab your rose colored glasses, skeptical suits, and hold onto your butts as we teleport into the realm of the CCC podcast. Hope to see you soon. Welcome back, everyone. With me again to wrap this up is Miss Liz from Ouch Was That a Ghost? So this is going to be entertaining. Last week, Liz was a little under the weather, and we had to evacuate quickly afterwards because she was sick to her stomach. And then this week, I just got off a 14-hour puke fest. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, so let's do a recap here. Let's see. The first one was Dexter. The UFO sighting there. We had the football shape, the size of a car. But you said looked like an eyeball, which is straight up legit. Go check out the stuff. I put a picture of it on social media. So that was the main one. And this was like a family saw it. Law enforcement saw it. It was very substantiated. They ended up calling for help. Then the second one was at Hillsdale at that college. And at least one full dormitory full of women, and I guess there was other students there, saw it. More law enforcement saw it. The sheriff, oh wait, hold on. He was what did they call him? The civil defense director.
Yeah.
How the fuck did I remember that?
I don't know. I remember Gidget.
Yeah, Gidget, the reporter. But all these people see it, and then they bring it up. They take it to the federal level, ignores them, sweeps it under the rug, just forgets about it. But the awesome sheriff persists and then even reaches out to, what was it, the congressional level?
Yep.
And is like, hey, do something about this. The congressional person, what was it, Vivian?
I only remember
Something
Gidget.
Vivian.
I remember Gidget and mermaids.
Gidget. Oh my God, I forgot the work. And I was like, we were talking about aliens, and she was telling me about this thing. She was like, she thought Atlantis was aliens, and I started dying laughing. And these people are looking at me like I'm fucking crazy because they don't. I'm the weirdo. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, she thought Atlantis was aliens. That's so funny. And they were just like, okay, like you're nuts, woman. But I was just busting out laughing, and nobody knew what the hell I was laughing about. It was a good time. But yeah, I think it was something Vivian. And, they took it up. They pulled a bunch of strings and actually got Project Blue Book involved. And they sent in Dr. J. Allen Hynek, which is what we're going to be covering today.
All right.
So go back and listen. You can get all the deets. It's got the descriptions, the eyewitnesses' accounts, and stuff like that. But this week's just going to be a little bit of background behind the guy who did it, and the investigation itself, and all of that fun jazz. So before we start, do you have anything? I always ask you every week, and the answer is always the same. Do you have anything going on upcoming?
I just finished a collab. Twisted
Ooh.
Tales came on, and we did a little. I'm about to edit that when we get off.
So I've got some stuff coming down the pike. My boyfriend's going to come on at some point, and we're going to do a mental health episode. I'm going to see about getting some new guests on and just see what's up with that. We still have other things that we got to talk about. So I got to scroll all the way down to part 3. Okay. Like I said, we're going to start this week off with a little background into who led the investigation and put it into perspective of the process that they took. So the man spearheading the Michigan UFO sightings in the spring of 1966 was Joseph Allen Hynek. And this is just so weird. I'm like, it's so old. He was born in 1910.
Wow.
Which to me seems like ancient. And he grew up in Chicago, which
Can I tell you how gross it is when people act like 1990s is ancient?
oh my God, isn't it?
Like, you were born before 2000? Shut your
I do it.
face.
And I have this problem where I have to use date of birth at work and I have to figure out whether or not the person is a minor and can consent or not. And anything over 2000, my brain's like, oh, you need a signature. And I'm like, wait, shit.
Yep.
You're an adult.
Yeah.
I officially feel old. I don't feel like I should be this old.
No, it's the worst when you're like talking about any musician like Michael Jackson and they're like, who's that? And you're like, what?
We
Just
literally,
what?
this just happened. So at work, I was talking, oh my gosh, we're going to derail. Sorry, guys. I was talking about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Natasha.
Exactly. And I'm like, Rocky and Bullwinkle. And like the nurses were like, what? Like, you don't know Rocky and Bullwinkle? They're like, no. And this, so security guard who's more salt than pepper. And he's like, yeah, I know them. He's like, you know, the squirrel and the moose. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's who you identify with. That's the worst when you're in the room and you're like, oh, I identify with this person. We're on the same level. Everyone else in the room
I'm
is
like, oh my God,
youngins.
this guy's probably in his 60s. And I'm like, oh no. But they're like, we have never heard of this ever. And I'm just like, Google it. But I felt so old in 2 seconds. I thought they were messing with me, but they were literally deer in the headlights. They had no idea.
Yeah, it knocks us down a few pegs.
And I figured out.
Okay.
So he was born in 1910, grew up in Chicago. At an early age, he developed scarlet fever and was unable to leave his bed, which I'm surprised he even survived. Wasn't that something that like wiped people out back in the day?
Yeah.
It was in his bedridden time that he forged a fascination with the field of astrology. Astrology. I'm heavy on the ass today. But But as a young man, Hynek enrolled in the University of Chicago and graduated with his bachelor's in 1931 and walked out in 1935 with a PhD in astrophysics. So, dude's smart.
Damn.
Yeah, he's smart. The next year, he was added to Ohio State University's faculty roster and eventually became the director of Ohio State McMillan Observatory. So dude's making progress, right? He is progressing. He is motivated. He's driven. He's not just sitting in one spot being a professor for his whole life. He's
Right.
and that's one thing I do like about him is he always is willing to learn. He wants to learn and better himself. It's just awesome. In 1948, Dr. Hynek was recruited by U.S. Air Force to be an astronomical addition to the Project Sign. And for those of everybody, I guess, out there, most people are familiar with Project Blue Book. But Project Sign was a team that was tasked with tackling the mystery of UFOs, OG UFO investigations. Then later took on the form as Project Grudge and then the infamous Project Blue Book. So it's one turned into the other like metamorphosized into, why am I using big words today? Into what it is, what we're familiar with nowadays. One of the things that I found that he was first noted as, like in his role with the Air Force, was in the investigation at Roswell. And we all know how the government portrayed the UFO and all of that in Roswell. So that kind of sets you up, like puts the ball on the tee for his mindset and his viewpoint on aliens and UFOs. He
Can
was
we
sent to
pause
Roswell.
for 1 second?
Yeah.
I am the least knowledgeable about aliens. I've said this many times. What exactly was Roswell? Like, just do the quickest synopsis of what it is. Because I honestly don't know the whole story there.
You know, the weather balloon thing. There's a crash site.
So weather balloon, they found a body.
Yeah, it was.
That's Roswell.
Craft crashes.
Yeah.
Then this conspiracy is they have an alien either live or dead. I can't remember exactly what the life status was. But then they're like, oh, it wasn't a UFO. It was just a weather balloon. That's where that came from.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's like the biggest, if you think of cover up. So you have the ones like Betty and Barney Hill. Oh my gosh, I totally am.
They were what? They abducted?
Tom Walton. Yeah, abductions. So you have Tom Walton, you have Betty and Barney Hill, you've got stuff. they were abductions, but Roswell is huge for the actual craft coming down, crashing, and having an actual being like here.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Here in that situation, he was claiming the concept of conducting these alien encounters that was quote unquote utterly ridiculous. That's literally what he said. The whole
Okay.
concept of aliens was ridiculous. And then Dr. Hynek's role in radical research was to dissect and debunk reports through the use of meteorology and astronomy. Like he was literally there to debunk. That was his purpose.
All
Like,
right.
no isn't, like I said, it set him up to this is how it is. I don't believe in it. It was Saturn or Venus or a star or whatever. Astral farts, who knows? Anything that can be explained with something that physically exists that we are aware of.
That eyeball, that's from the man on the moon. Don't worry about it.
Yes, exactly. Don't worry about it. So he started off, like I said, very close-minded, and he wrote off most of the accounts as misidentifications or simply just mundane phenomena that, you know, it was steam or whatever, mainly the stars and planets and all that, because that was his area of expertise. But after a while, he started seeing more and more reputable reports, and he just couldn't confidently close a case and say completely that it did not exist. He started having more and more that he could not debunk. And he began to see the increase of encounters that involved information from radar systems, pilots, police officers. Like it wasn't Joe Schmo, or I guess not to discredit the family, the Manor family from 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
They're a small town farming community family that sees some rando shit come down. Like I can understand that, but like he's seeing more and more accounts of people that are more credible, I guess you could say, in the eyes of researchers, like police officers that are just generally taken more seriously than just random people off the street.
Yeah, it's someone with something to lose. Well, not to lose,
Exactly.
but like they'll easier to ridicule.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
you're right, though. I think something to lose is right because back then you got to think if you said something and you were in that role, even today,
Yeah.
if you say, "Oh, I saw this," "Oh, I saw that," you're immediately under you're on the chopping block. You're under the microscope. People just automatically say you're crazy. You lose your job. You can't get hired anywhere because people think you're nuts.
Hmm.
So it's really unfortunate, but like you said, there's people that have things to lose, and to me, that adds a little bit of validation because there is everything to lose in their situation.
Yeah.
So because of all these things that he's seeing, Hynek began to believe that some sightings should undergo scientific inquiry, not just like, oh, I'm going to debunk it, but actually research what is going on because it was so prominent that things are happening now. So he starts to shift gears. I wouldn't say that he was a believer necessarily. It was almost like he seemed okay, I know something's happening. I'm having a hard time explaining it, but there's got to be an explanation. And I think that we need to scientifically research it.
Yeah.
Not just like there were binoculars and antennas, but maybe. I don't know what they were using at the time. But he was very much so getting more into wanting to do the research and actually study it.
Yeah. Yeah. He wanted to find the actual origin, not just blindly believe a weird theory and not write it off.
Which again is his drive. You got to think he went to school, he got his PhD, he's in astrophysics. Like he wants to know how and why and when, which is great. I think that's a good trait to
I
have.
get that. I have problems that you can't solve, and I'll go insane until I figure them out. I totally understand that.
Yep.
And I respect that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And in 1972, he presented the Close Encounter Classification System within the UFO Experience, a Scientific Inquiry. So when you hear first, what is it? Encounter of the first kind, second kind, third kind, that's his
Oh,
classification
wow.
system.
So
So
what
you
does
have,
each one mean? Oh, go ahead. Are you
funny
going to
you
go
should
over them?
ask that.
I told you I'm such a novice at
Oh
UFOs.
no, it's okay. But this is why I put
I
extra
don't know
stuff in.
anything.
I put
All
extra
right.
stuff in so that way we could walk away more educated than we started.
All right.
So you have a close encounter of the first kind, which is a visual sighting of a UFO within 500 feet or right around 152.5 meters. You're welcome. Then you have close encounters of the second kind, which is sightings with physical effects such as burn marks, redness to the skin, the engine of your car dying, anything that you can see, touch, feel, hear. So I've known of multiple cases where they see a UFO and they get like conjunctivitis in their eyes or whatever. But their eyes get all infected and gross. And it happens a lot. Or radiation burn.
I've heard that. I've never heard conjunctivitis.
Yeah, they get conjunctivitis. Dude, I've heard it in multiple accounts. It's
Wow.
definitely weird. When I first started noticing it, I was like, that is weird. I was the same with you. I'm like, huh. But so basically anything with side effects or physical abnormalities, that's the second kind. And then the encounters of a third kind are sightings of UFOs involving entities such as humanoid figures, robots, or other animated beings or automated beings. So you have the first kind is, oh, look way over there. There's something. Or, oh, look there. I can see it, but I don't see anything else. Second kind is, I see something and I'm
got booger in my eyes now.
Yes, boogers in your eyes or burns on the skin. And third kind is like, holy shit, there is a thing in front of me. There's something coming out of it or something driving it.
A Flatwood monster.
Yes, exactly. Now, shortly after the Michigan UFO sightings, Dr. Hynek arranged an investigation on behalf of Project Blue Book. He primarily sat behind a desk reading the accounts, inhibiting progress until he got his ass out from behind that desk and started field research. Not that I was judging. I wasn't judging at all. Then a drawing of the craft started getting circulated, which is the one we talked about earlier. With you have a football, you got the dome on the top, you got the two little antenna thingies, little legs at the bottom, and it's got that quilted grid type pattern on it. So even a self-proclaimed quote unquote expert that was from California, which I'm not really sure where they were chiming in, but anyway, they construed the claim that the UFO was visiting these specific sites to suck up the swamp water and replenish and recharge its batteries. So either it was cooling, like a cooling system, or it needed the water to recharge something, which, like I said, the algae and stuff like that, it could be organic matter that it needs to do something. And maybe there's more of it in the swamp. I don't know. But that was one claim. So once he got in, Hynek dove right into the interviewing process with witnesses and searching for any witness or any evidence. Jesus, sorry about that. Any evidence the sightings were substantiated. After speaking with the Manor family, he admitted to the sheriff that he was not sure what to make of the sightings. Again, a guy who debunks everything. His job is to debunk. And he told the sheriff, he's like, man, I really don't know what to say about this. This is like almost stumped him. Like he's considering it. But here's the thing. A little later, he took a phone call from federal authorities. And after that was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. This can't be real. This isn't real. Nothing's happening.
The Men in Black.
So he says this, and then he gets a call from the government, and he's, let me switch some gears. So on the 23rd of March, just a couple days after Dexter sightings, Hynek was a speaker at a press conference that was demanded by the public. So again, he's saying these things. He gets a call from the government. Now he's on a press conference. He was insistent that most of the witnesses in Michigan only saw yellow, red, and green lights, but heard no sounds and saw no object. When we know damn well that we have
there's a drawing.
Multiple people saw something like an actual craft. And I put some quotes in here because I wanted to do it justice by putting exactly what I could find. So these are a summary of his press conference. And I'm just like dying here. The incidents of the Manor Farm and Hillsdale College were a result of rotting vegetation in lowland areas. The vegetation created gases that were trapped in the winter during the spring thaw, and the gases were released. This swamp gas phenomena could cause the lights and even sounds. Hynek called it highly localized. So
I'm just picturing like this farting sound is all I could see, but there's no ship that would come out of it.
Exactly.
A farting old potato. That's all I'm hearing out of that whole thing he just said. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's just swamp gas. And then it says, quote, a dismal swamp is a most likely place to visit from outer space, end quote, which is what he also said at the press conference. Says my interrogations were made triply difficult because of the ambiguous press, radio, and TV men. It was impossible to talk quietly with anyone or quietly. Oh my gosh. Woo! I just went Elmer Fudd.
Just
Quietly.
keep it quietly.
Oh, geez. Talk quietly with anyone without having a microphone placed in front of your face. I was always importuned for just a word or will you answer this one question? It is difficult to describe to one who wasn't there in the general bedlam. Mr. Manor, the chief protagonist in the Dexter case, reportedly complained that I had spent very little time with him. It was virtually impossible to do so. Several times I was waiting and anxious to talk with him, but he was occupied with several reporters. Here again is where some assistance would have come in handy. They could have diverted the reporters while I talked to Manor. One needs some clever interference to run for him. Oh my gosh, for cases like this, it is virtually impossible to do it single handedly. And thus, the concept of swamp gas was born. So that press conference is what started the whole thing.
I would give anything to hear what that conversation was on the phone from the government.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, dude, it's got to be something.
Is it money? Is it threats?
But he's been the head debunker for years.
Yeah. Does he get access to a secret bathroom? What does he get?
He gets a secret office by the bathroom, or he gets a window office.
Front row parking spot.
He gets a, oh my gosh, and what do they call that? With the light, the overhead light in a building.
Oh, skylight.
Yeah, he gets a skylight.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say like a basket of edible arrangements. I don't know why when you went like that. I'm like, oh, she means edible arrangements.
No, my finger I'm pointing to the sky. Yeah,
that's what I connect. All right.
I would love to know what was said because, like I said, he starts off. No, he goes and talks to the Manor family, sees what's going on. Again, there's that thing in the grass that they see, and they clearly saw something, and then other people saw it too. And so then he's, oh, I don't know what to make of this. Holy shit, this is weird. And then takes the phone call, and then he's like, oh no, it's swamp gas.
And his excuses suck. He's like, I didn't get to talk to him enough. He could still easily read all those reports that the reporters wrote. This is what he said. He still has access to what the guy said.
But if he's asking specific questions, trying to get particular answers, they're not going to be the same questions that a reporter's going to ask.
Then try again. Don't just be like, oh, I couldn't talk to him. So it's
and
swamp gas.
Government,
it's farting potatoes.
It's government investigation. So you got to think they don't want the press or public to know and interfere with the investigation. Like, I understand that. Like, you don't question a perp in public.
Then bring him in to question him. Don't sit on his front lawn pushing through.
Well, supposedly there's like a horde, like swarms of these things. Like these people, these things, like they're monsters. In some cases they are. But to me, I've got a thing here. It should be noted that even the House leader, Gerald Ford, labeled the swamp gas theory as flippant and leaned heavily on the need to have more thorough look, stating, quote, I think we owe it to the people to establish credibility regarding UFOs and to produce the greatest possible enlightenment on the subject, end quote. Touche, Mr. Ford. Like, we owe it to the people to get down to brass tacks. Like, what the fuck's happening here?
Who was the president then?
I don't know.
That was what, 40s? Truman?
66.
Oh, 66. Why did I think you said 40s?
Let's Google it. I'm really bad at.
I was doing a trivia game last night, and it had to do with what's on a penny, what's on a nickel, what's on a dime, and what's on a quarter. The quarter, I'm like, is Washington. But then as everyone's talking, I kept questioning what's on the penny, nickel, and dime. Do you know?
Lincoln. No, it's not Jefferson on a nickel. The nickel's got me. But I know that Lincoln's on the penny, Washington's on the quarter. So who's on the... It's not Jefferson, right? No.
See, the more you think about it, the quicker you spiral
down. Who's on the
down.
nickel?
It's Lincoln's the penny, Jefferson's the nickel, Roosevelt's the dime. Yeah, but the more you think about it, like that's why I just let you just go because you
I was like,
spiral.
because I was trying to
You're like,
figure
wait,
out, like,
no,
did
wait.
he have glasses? So the president in 1966 was Lyndon B. Johnson.
Okay.
I'm not good with history. I don't know. I only know who's in office now. That's it. I liked that somebody at a high level was like, no, we need to look into this. We need answers. And basically, we need to get somebody back out there. So he also shot down the Fitzpatrick photograph by stating that it was, in fact, the moon and Venus. Now, I'm going to show you the Fitzpatrick, if I could spell.
You can cut this, but do you know Johnson? When I think of him, if you ever look into him, he had a habit of just literally whipping his penis out.
Really?
Yeah. And he called it Jumbo and would whip it out and show everybody. Sorry.
We are going to go back to the previously mentioned Bud Van Horn, who was inherently irate after Hynek undoubtedly dismissed illuminating lights seen above the arboretum or arboretum as simple swamp gas. So he was the sheriff that showed up and saw it. Uh, and he was like, the hell it was. I know this mofo ain't saying it's swamp gas. Like, I saw what I saw. And my thing, too, is I understand that the gases that are trapped in there could cause hallucinations or whatnot, but they wouldn't cause the same oh my God, hallucination for that many people. You know what I mean?
You said that they were all different distances apart, too. So you're
Yeah.
not getting the same amount of gas.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
So that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Next.
So he went on the record armed with 15 points and insisted that the investigation was utterly unscientific. According to Van Horn, the dispatch investigators didn't even have the courtesy to come out of their cars while cruising down Barber Drive looking for quote unquote evidence. Like, they didn't even stop. They just drove
Good for
by.
him calling them out.
Oh yeah. I was like, dude,
Like,
this
you
guy is on
lazy
it, dude.
mofos.
He's badass. I thoroughly enjoy this man. He total props. Total props for
Yeah.
me. Now, additional claims were that they only initiated interview with only 3 witnesses, of which they disregarded many of the details that they described anyway. So they interviewed 3 people and then didn't put into consideration most of the details they were reporting.
Because they didn't fit their narrative. Yeah.
Then Sheriff Harvey also spoke out against the conclusions with, quote, with all due respect to Dr. Hynek, I'm not ready to accept this weak excuse of gas in marshes or gas from marshes, end quote. I'm like, that is like the most tongue-in-cheek, dude, like diss. I'm not gonna do this because come on, dude. Like, this weak ass excuse. You know that
Right?
he was thinking it.
He's respectfully no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. When presented, oh my gosh, when presented with a magazine depicting George Adamski's saucer, he dismissed it, claiming the object was merely a chicken feeder. That's the one we were talking about. Okay, so the first one I showed you that looked like a bell, Hynek was like, oh no, it's just a chicken feeder in the air.
What does a chicken feeder look like?
You put all this stuff at the top and it runs down the bottom. There's like a trough at the bottom.
Does it look like that though?
I don't know what one looks like from 1966. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So it is more saucer-y. To me, it looks a little bit like the Nazi bell, which I will be covering at some point.
I know that because Joe from Film Joe came on and told that on my pod, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it was a twist! I knew it was coming, and it was still crazy."
To me, it just does look a lot like the Nazi bell, the one in the photograph does.
Yeah.
On April 6th, so keep in mind, these are in March, the end of March. On April 6th, Hynek, Air Force Secretary Harold Brown, and Project Blue Book Chief Major Hector Quintilla, like it's a tortilla, Quintilla, stood before the House Armed Services Committee. The Air Force finally caved after all the attention and public and said, quote, sent scientific observers to further delve into recent sightings, end quote. So with enough pressure, they finally caved and said that they need to send more scientific researchers. They then assigned physicist Edward Condon a 2-year task to continue with the inquiry to find answers and determine whether or not the government should provide funding to keep the research going on the topic. There were no other conclusions given that I could find aside from swamp gas story, and they were sticking to it. What do you think about the theory of swamp gas?
I think it sucks.
I concur.
I'm still farting potatoes is all he described to me. That doesn't explain anything. I get that, yeah, gases can't come out. Like you say, maybe there's some kind of toxic whatever happening, but that wouldn't mean that every single person would see the same thing.
Exactly. And what are your thoughts? Did something extraordinarily extraterrestrial occur in the skies of Michigan in 1966?
I honestly don't know, because the military bases and that call could have been the government being like, hey, that was a test we were running, top secret. You can't say a word about it.
That actually makes sense. I didn't even think about that.
I just don't think that there's enough to say, oh, it's aliens. I'm not saying it's not. I just think that we don't know enough to say, oh, it's aliens.
For me, it's no one saw. There was a dome and no one mentioned a pilot. Now, granted, it was also very dark and it's the 60s, so it's not like everything was illuminated. They were off in a distance. It'd be hard to see if there's anything driving anyway.
Right.
Excuse me. But it never lands. No one gets out. Essentially, the theory is that they suck the water up. But it'd have to be specific to the swamp because there's other masses of water in Michigan that are not swamp areas.
Now, you know a lot about aliens. Have there been other cases where there's hovering above swamps?
So this is the main one that I know about. I think I've heard a couple other encounters that have them in the swampy areas, but I don't remember it being, usually it's like wooded areas or a field space in between wooded areas, almost like they're being strategic, like trying to hide in the trees, like Tom Walton. It was in the woods. These guys were logging in the middle of BFE and just so happened to see this thing come down and skunked him and then took him and I guess fixed him. I think they were like, oh shit, my bad. If you step on a bug and you're like, oh, let me fix that, but you can't fix it, but they could. But I don't really, I've heard a couple, but not a whole bunch. But who's to say that they just haven't been reported?
That's true. Or
and swamps are so
they
vast,
advanced
usually.
and we no longer need swamps. Yeah.
True. I'm just thinking a lot of swamps are very large. Think of the peat bogs and stuff like that. Like they're just, or where you see, you get skunk ape and stuff like that, and there's swampy areas. And it seems like there's usually quite a bit of cover in a swamp. It's not like you just have this big open swamp. From what I've seen, I've never been to swamps, but it almost seems like there's usually, because of the algae and everything, there's other vegetation around that's pretty thick.
So you think they're more just strategic about their swamp hovering now?
I'm just wondering because a lot of people don't go
slurping.
trudging. They don't go trudging through the swamps. Some people do, but I feel like the coverage is going to be better. There's not going to be as many people and stuff like that.
I don't dismiss it, but I don't think there's enough to say, oh, yes, it's aliens.
Yeah, this would be considered close encounter of the first kind. And I struggle with those because there is no evidence. There's no physical thing. If the Manor family was close enough to see the grid lines on this thing when they rolled up to it with their little handy dandy flashlights, I feel like, now granted, they run off different things, I'm sure, just like we have, vegetable oil cars, and then we have diesel, and we have gas, and we have electric, and who's to say that they don't have similar things where maybe whatever craft was there doesn't emit that radiation or anything that would physically affect the family. But a lot of times you hear that they do. So that to me is a little odd. You would have expected a burn or conjunctivitis or something happening. There was no missing time. Granted, that we are aware of, there's no missing time. But there wasn't any abduction reported either. So supposedly nobody was taken. Nothing came off the craft. Nobody saw the thing driving a craft. It never landed. Most of the time they land, it appears like they're doing some sort of field research of their own where they're taking soil samples and whatnot, or I guess people. But
Yeah.
there was nothing. There was, as far as I could find, there was no cattle mutilations nearby. So that to me, on one hand, I want to say yes, it was UFOs because it was so outrageous for the time. But on the other hand, there's a lot of things missing. Now, I do say the zipping back and forth and the quick patterns and stuff like that is the only thing that makes me go, oh, this is obviously something that we probably did not have access to at the time. But like you said, there's a lot of things that we don't know we have.
Right.
I'm on the fence. I wouldn't say 50-50. I feel like the amount of effort, see, this is where the amount of effort put into debunking it and coming up with bullshit excuses could lean either direction. Either, yes, they are, that phone call was, dude, you better button this shit up. Like, we can't have people knowing about this. It could be that, or it could be, they don't need to know about it. You need to hush it. Like, it could go either one extreme or the other.
Yeah, like it's either aliens or it was us. Either way, shut up.
Yeah. So I think it's hard for me to decide on that one.
Well, last week I was 90-10 that it was the government.
I think
This week I'm more 70-30.
I think I'm still 60-40 for aliens because I just wanted to be aliens.
Government. Yeah.
I just wanted to be aliens so
I just think
bad.
there's not enough though.
Yeah, but then again, a lot of times there's not. But so many witnesses, and like I said, that one in Hillsdale, they sat and watched it for 10 minutes. It wasn't like it just flew by the window. 10 minutes, these people are watching it do the light show, and then it's like up and down and over. There's a lot. There's a lot there that doesn't make sense. Now, if it was like, oh, a couple people saw it fly by a window, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably just like some bullshit. But this thing hovered. And if it was the government, they would know full well that fucking school was that close. I don't think they would ever even have tried to do anything there.
Not everyone in the government is super smart either.
I would assume that if you're covering up as they're using this high-tech stuff, you've got to have a brain, right?
You would think.
You would think. But I just feel like if it was the government, there would have been, I mean, I can understand the family and then being like, okay, it's late. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's dark. We're in the cover of night. It's probably safe. I can understand that from a military standpoint. But to be that close to the college, knowing that if it was school wasn't in session and stuff like that's one thing. But no, it was in school season. During the school year, we had all these people there. It wasn't like it was at midnight. It was at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So at the time, it's still pretty light outside. So that's where I struggle because I don't think that they would have been dumb enough to do it there. Especially if there's so many swampy areas. Why would you go to one that close?
I don't know, but wouldn't aliens, if they were them and they saw all those people, wouldn't they be like, peace, and just bounce?
If they're all in the building on curfew, they don't know the school schedule.
But if they see them all watching them.
But if they're far enough away, they won't see them watching them. They might just be like, oh, it's a building. They don't know. And if they don't see any people walking around because they're all in curfew, they might not realize there's even people there.
Girls in college are loud when they get together.
I don't know. I didn't have that nice college experience. I didn't experiment in college. I feel like there's a lot of pull either direction. So I would say 60-40 just because I want it to be aliens so bad. But I feel like I'm with you. There's not enough evidence either direction, I don't feel. And you can logically sift through enough of it to defend an answer either way.
Yeah, but I do think that there was something.
Yes. Something was there.
Just, yeah. It's not, it was just made up. It was just a collective whatever. I don't think that was the case.
I am 100% something was there. Now what it was, I don't know. Do you got anything else that you want to add to the Michigan scenarios?
No, I learned so much about encounters of the first, second, third kind and alien knowledge from Natasha.
Yep. It's always a teaching opportunity when I can. To me, knowledge is power. right? So the more you
Right.
know, the better off you are. And like I said, I know some random shit. I know a whole bunch of random stuff. But to me, I just wanted to do Officer Harvey, Ford, who is the other? Like all the officers were fantastic. Van Horn, and then the
Shout out
congressperson.
Van Horn.
Yeah, whoop whoop,
Yeah.
toot your horn. Ha 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 ha. I want to see if I can find who's that congressperson. I want to say it was Vivian. There's a Jerry, but anyway, so the officers. Oh, Hess and Wise.
The duo on the case.
The
Yep.
Hillsdale police duo, and then Gidget for her reporting skills. It's just to
Yes.
me, this whole thing over the span of a week or so showed a lot of people that they really had a lot of gusto. They really had the balls to go out and say, yes, we don't know what it was, but we saw something. This is what's happening. We have the reporter giving the accounts. We've got officers stepping up. We've got the sheriffs that are pressing and pressing. And holy crap, I just have goosebumps on one side of me.
Yeah, it would have been so much easier to say nothing.
Yes, but they got to it, went to Congress, they got Blue Book involved. To me, there's a lot of good investigators in this scenario and a lot of good key players in it. And so I know they're probably either really old or gone, but kudos to them. My hat is
But
off.
hey, they would know about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes, they would, suckers. But all right. So don't forget, I do have a new Patreon subscriber that I got to do a shout out for. So this is a shout out to Ghost Potato, which is an awesome name because I do ghosts and I am a potato. And oh my gosh, you mentioned potatoes.
Potato farts.
So potato farts. Thanks, Ghost Potato Farts. But all right, I just got to put that in there. Thank you so much for subscribing and all of my other people out on the Patreon that are members. You guys are awesome and I appreciate everything. So keep doing what you're doing. Okay. I don't have anything else to add. If you don't have anything else to add, again, everybody, don't forget to check everybody out. So Miss Liz is Ouch Was That a Ghost. She's everywhere that you can listen. She does have a Patreon page. She's got a crowd made thing. Do you have a website?
I do.
Okay, so
It's
website.
ouchwasthataghost.com.
Oh, wow. Woo! That's like mine, CryptidsCreepsAndConspiracy.com.
Yeah.
Go check that out too. So don't forget to leave a review, share it with everybody that you know, rate us 5 stars. It's going to help everybody out. I know a lot of people don't think it does, but it takes, 30 seconds, if even that. And it gets us out there more. More people are going to be able to find us. And any part of you that wants to help, like I said, we've got everything. Both of our links are going to be down below. We've got Patreon, we've got websites, we've got merch, we've got all kinds of resources. So go check them out. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. If you wouldn't mind, please take a moment and give the show a 5-star review wherever you're listening. I know it might not seem like much, but it greatly helps the show and allows people to find us more easily. Also, head on over to www.patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy and subscribe to any of the tiers. Members of the Big Show tier get bonus materials, personalized shoutouts on the pod, ad-free episodes, access to the private Discord server, quarterly appreciation gifts, and a chance to be on the show. Not to mention video versions of the episode. Before you go, don't forget to click the link in the description and grab yourself or someone you know some self-designed merch by me, or make a donation to help keep the show going and fund future events and investigations. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. If you have any questions, topic recommendations, or personal encounters, please send them to cryptidscreepsandconspiracy@gmail.com or submit them through the contact form at www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com. I would love to hear from you and share your experiences on a listener episode. Just make sure that you specify that I have permission to add your encounter to the show and let me know whether or not you would like your real name read or an alias to maintain confidentiality. Thank you guys all again so much for your support. Until next time, my friends. See ya.